Between 2009 and 2015, emergency room admissions for self-harm among 10 to 14-year-old girls tripled. The latest CDC study on teens found that 1 in 3 high school girls seriously considered taking her own life in the past year. In one internal study recently brought to light through a state attorney general lawsuit, found that Meta found that they knew that as many as 100,000 children were receiving sexual content on their platforms each day, 100,000 minors a day. Another independent survey found that 1 in 3 minors report having an online sexual interaction, and 1 in 5 report having one with someone they believe to be an adult. Rates of sextortion are also exploding, especially among teen boys. Between 2021 and 2023, reports of sextortion increased by over 300%. Snapchat alone receives around 10,000 reports of sextortion each month, and that figure is likely only a fraction of the total abuse occurring on the platform, and that is just one app. Parents know in their guts that smartphones aren't ideal for children. They read the news about these horrifying stories and studies. They hear tech CEOs testifying before Congress, or they read Jonathan Haidt's or Jean Twenge's work, and they see for themselves the evidence that social media and smartphones are harmful to children. Yet it remains extremely difficult for concerned parents to stand against the strong current of screens into childhood. Giving a smartphone to a teen feels like an inevitability. All their friends have them. Schools and extracurricular activities require certain apps. No parent wants their child to be ostracized or disadvantaged. This is a classic collective action problem. No parent wants their child to be the one left out. We need collective solutions. Parents and families need help. We're here at NatCon because we believe in conserving the timeless institutions that make our self-governing republic work and allow it to flourish. Foremost among them is the family. And today, the American family is under threat from addictive digital technologies that don't only cause individual harm, but negatively impact a child's or teen's entire social environment. They cause group-level harms that individual parents are powerless to sufficiently counter themselves. Public policy work is critical to supporting the family, but legislative change can be slow, and some aspects of the problem can't be addressed well with legislation. For example, it would be near impossible to pass, much less enforce, a law that bans minors from using smartphones. What American families need to protect their kids from digital technology is culture change, of which legal reform is one tool. The good news I share in my new book, The Tech Exit, and that I want to share with you today, I really want to leave you with good news, is that parents working together can provide the collective solutions we need to change the culture. It is possible to beat the digital tech crisis by creating counter communities that resist screens together. And schools and policymakers can play a critical role in supporting this too. So how can you be part of changing the culture to raise children and teens free of smartphones? Feast. Feast. This is the acronym I use to summarize the 5 core commitments that tech exit families live out and that you can live out too. So F, find other families. No parent wants their child to be the only one without a phone or social media, and that's why it's so important to find other families to join you. I encountered one suburban neighborhood in the DC area that looked like something out of the 1970s. Kids playing outside, riding bikes to one another's houses, building forts, even arguing on the front lawn and working through conflicts themselves. No parents in sight, best of all, no devices in sight. And it all started from one conversation that one mom on the street had with her neighbor who shared her own family's thinking around technology. Their kids started playing together outside, while the parents acted as friends and allies in keeping their children on a technology diet. Soon, other parents and kids joined in, attracted by the sounds and sights of children running, throwing balls, squealing, and laughing together. That's all it took to shift the momentum on the street away from screens. Other parents I spoke with, they found like-minded parents through their school. You could email other parents in your child's class, invite them over to your home, and just start a conversation. E, explain, educate, and exemplify. To make the tech exit sustainable over the long term and to preserve a good relationship with your children, it's important that parents work to get their kids buy-in, or at least their understanding and acceptance of these tech commitments you are calling them to. So tech exit parents positively and proactively explain the reasoning behind their rules. They educate their kids on the harms I explained at the beginning, and they train their children how to handle the temptations these technologies pose. One note, binging later is a myth. What I repeatedly heard from the tech exit families I interviewed was the opposite, giving their children a low-tech childhood, including through high school, and having them form their core life habits without smartphones help set them up for more responsible use as young adults. And a big part of training our kids starts with how we use technology ourselves as adults and exemplifying for them a healthy use. So parents, and all adults really, we must model the kind of responsible tech use we want the next generation to have as adults. This means physically distancing ourselves from our phones, especially when we are with our children, and dumbing our own phones down to be less addicting and distracting to us, because adults, we are not immune from the addictive design. A, adopt alternatives. Adopt phone alternatives to smartphones. There are so many available today. I'll mention a few you could look into: the Bark phone, the Gab phone, the Pinwheel phone, the Gizmo Watch, the Light phone, or Wise phone. It starts by just rejecting this premise of inevitability of smartphones and then building your plans from there. If you are told an app is required for a school assignment or a child's activity, don't accept it. Tech exit parents, they talk to teachers or coaches to find another option. They push back. And every parent that pushes back makes it easier for the next parent. S, set up digital accountability and family screen rules. I found that tech exit families all had two foundational family screen rules in common. One, screen use is public and purposeful. Not only are children's communication channels always accessible to parents, but all technology use by children is public to others in the home. Internet use is always purposeful in tech exit families. If a kid needs to get online for an assignment or another purpose, they have to explain to the parent a valid reason, and there's always a conversation. And two, screen entertainment in the home is sparing and shared. In tech exit families, screen entertainment's a rare treat, not a daily occurrence, and if they own a TV, it's used sparingly for family movie nights or watching a sporting event together. Finally, T, trade screens for real-life responsibilities and pursuits. Tech exit families don't only resist screens, they also seek to fill their children's lives with the positive goods of the real world. They fill childhood not just with hobbies and sports, but with opportunities for children to learn self-giving. First in their families by taking on chores and adult-like responsibilities, and then in their broader communities, learning to serve their school, their church, their neighbors. These are the things we want to see in our culture as conservatives. Children need a greater purpose and vision for their lives. They need a higher calling outside themselves, to others, and to God. Next, what schools can do. Even when individual parents do all they can to protect children from smartphones, as I mentioned, the harms of smartphones are not only individual, they can have detrimental group effects. Schools can thus play a crucial role in providing collective solutions to these harmful group dynamics. A winning policy schools have been adopting are bell-to-bell phone bans. Phone bans work. Not only do they improve academic outcomes, they improve the social environment for students and teachers. They increase camaraderie and conversations among students, and they increase student respect for teachers and reduce discipline issues. Studies show that students' test scores, grades, GPAs, and academic achievement improve after a ban on phone use, especially the scores of the lowest achieving students. Phone bans help the most vulnerable students the most. Bans also allow students to test drive what a phone-free life looks like for the 7 hours of the school day. Staying off the phone for the school day can help young brains recalibrate and improve mental health, so that even during the after-school hours, the pull of the phone and its apps is less powerful. Schools thus offer powerful backup to help parents opt out. And while phones may be the worst culprits, in speaking of schools, I must mention the educational screens many children are using in their classrooms that are hurting learning more than helping. Despite the increasing push over the last decade to get every child a laptop or tablet, student math, reading, and science scores have been on the decline in the U.S. since 2012. And in 2022, the scores were the lowest seen since the 1970s. Increased technological access has not led to increases in educational attainment. Sweden became one of the first nations in the world to adopt modern edtech learning methods, replacing all their textbooks with screens in 2009 and inspiring others to follow suit. Now, they are reversing course because the data hasn't borne out. Attention spans are shorter and learning has not improved. And so their government is expected to invest 1.2 million to provide every Swedish student with paper textbooks for each subject by the end of 2025. America should do the same. We shouldn't be afraid to reverse course when the data tells us that screens aren't working. The failure of EdTech to improve learning should also make us take caution with the recent push for integrating AI into education. Schools should teach students AI as a tool in computer lab settings, but not allow AI to become the main teacher or to do the learning for the students. Lastly, policymakers. You too play an important role in changing the culture by changing the laws. Consider laws that provide collective solutions and empower parents, such as banning social media until age 18 or even 16, like Australia has done, at a federal or state level, or require parental consent for minors to form social media accounts. Currently, there's no verification or consent required whatsoever. I offer more ideas in my book, but one last key legal solution to mention that states have already been passing are age verification for pornography websites laws, which now 24 states have passed. We discussed this solution last year at NatCon, and a year later, I can share the extremely positive news that the U.S. Supreme Court upheld these laws as constitutional in Net Choice v. Paxton back in June. This is a tremendous victory for all of America's parents and children. And with this resounding victory, more states should follow suit, and Congress should pass age verification on a federal level. In conclusion, if we want America's children to be happy and successful, if we want them to reach their highest potential in service to God and country, then the most important thing we can all do is change the culture to replace screens and phones with responsibilities that turn children's focus outward. We all have a role to play. Parents talking to other parents in our local communities, schools in banning phones and creating a low-tech school culture, and policymakers in passing reforms that make it easier for parents to opt out. I hope you'll join me in the growing movement of tech exit families, schools, and lawmakers for the sake of protecting and raising up the next generation of Americans to flourish and to be the leaders we need. Thank you.